Under the Neon Moon. Las Vegas Stories.
I make my living in 10-minute decisions. The app doesn't say that. The commercials don't show the part where your stomach turns because you can't tell if the person in the back seat is drunk, dangerous, or just tired. They don't show the staging lot at the airport at 3 in the morning, rows of cars with engines off and men staring at their phones like they're waiting on verdicts. The app says drive here, pick up there, keep your rating clean. It doesn't tell you what happens when you touch something you shouldn't have touched. That night started like every other night I'd tried to convince myself was normal. I'd been in the airport queue long enough for the screen to stop feeling like a screen and start feeling like a heartbeat. 3 to 5 minutes to dispatch, 5 to 8, 8 to 12. The surge numbers had come and gone twice. The lot had cycled through the usual patterns, guys getting out to smoke, a couple leaning against their trunk arguing in Spanish, someone blasting music low enough that it was more vibration than sound. I kept my windows cracked because it was February, cool enough to make you believe Vegas could be gentle if it wanted, and because a closed car in a staging lot feels like a confession booth. Dispatch hit. Terminal 1. Door number on the message. A name that could have belonged to anyone. I rolled out with the line like we were all part of the same machine, idling forward, turning at the same corners, feeding into the lanes where the airport police and curbside staff wave you on with a patience that isn't patience. They're not there to help you. They're there to keep the system moving. I found the passenger in a cluster by the door. No luggage cart. One carry-on that looked expensive without trying. A man in his late 40s, maybe older. Jacket that fit. Shoes that had been shined. He didn't look like someone who missed flights. He didn't look like someone who yelled. He looked like someone who decided what happened and expected the world to cooperate. He checked my plate, opened the rear door, and slid in without a word. The carry-on went in the trunk. He didn't ask how my night was going. He didn't tell me his name. He didn't need to. The app already did that for him. The destination was a strip hotel on the South End, a place with a massive porte cochere and security cameras that could read the serial number off a bill if the bill stayed still long enough. The route the app suggested was the usual, out, on the freeway, down, and then the long slow crawl as you get closer to the heart of it. Even at that hour the strip is never empty. It just changes its disguises. The traffic becomes more commercial, more rideshare, more service vehicles, more people who look like they're arriving or leaving rather than staying. He sat behind me, quiet. I could see him in the rearview mirror if I looked hard enough, his eyes down, hands in his lap. At one point the faint glow of a phone lit his face, then went dark again. I heard him breathe, slow and controlled. Not drunk. Not high. Just contained. When you do this long enough, you start cataloging people by how they use space. Some passengers fill the whole car with their noise, their questions, their laughter, their anger. Some turn themselves into nothing and ride in silence like you're a bus. He wasn't either. He had presence without noise. He had weight. I kept my attention where it belonged, because there are cameras everywhere now. My dash cam has a lens pointed out and another pointed in. The airport has its own. The streets have them. Every resort on Las Vegas Boulevard has 1,000 eyes on the curb. If you think you can disappear here, you're either new or lying. We pulled up under the hotel canopy and joined the short line of cars waiting to unload. A bellman in a vest moved like he'd been trained to never stop smiling, even when he wasn't smiling. I got the trunk, lifted out the carry-on, set it at the curb. The man stepped out, still quiet, and reached back into the car. That was the first moment that mattered. It always is. The moment when something goes from routine to irreversible and you don't feel it until later. He didn't reach for his phone. He didn't reach for the seatbelt latch. He reached down to the floor behind my passenger seat and pulled up a black leather briefcase. Hard-sided. Locked. Not a cheap office bag. The kind of thing you see carried by people who don't let other people carry their things. He held it by the handle for a second, like he was checking its weight, then stepped back and shut the door. He turned to the bellman with the carry-on and gave him a look that said, "Don't touch the briefcase." The bellman didn't touch it. The man walked away with the briefcase in his hand, swallowed by the lobby light and the line of people and the polished floor. I watched him go because you watch things in this city even when you're not supposed to. I watched him go because I'd learned that the strip eats details. It eats faces. It eats plates. It eats guilt. It eats truth. The only way you keep anything straight is by paying attention. Then I got back in, pulled out, and accepted the next request because that's how you survive. Keep moving. The rest of the night blurred in the usual way. A couple short hops between properties. A pickup at a casino entrance where the passenger had to stop and argue with security about where rideshares were allowed to stand. A drunk bachelor party that tried to cram one too many into the back seat and got mad when I said no. A woman in a sequin dress who cried silently the whole ride and left mascara on the tissue she used. The city did its thing, and I did mine. Sometime after 2, I took a fare from Fremont down toward the Arts District. The passenger was a dealer from somewhere on Fremont, still in his vest, hands smelling like chips. He talked the whole way about how some guy had accused him of cheating, how surveillance had rolled back tape, how the guy got walked. He said it like it was entertainment. Like Justice was a show with a predictable ending. He laughed when he told me. When I dropped him and pulled away, I finally noticed the briefcase. It was on the rear floorboard, behind my passenger seat, exactly where the man at the airport had reached to retrieve his. It was the same shape, the same black leather, the same hard edges. It had to be. There aren't a lot of those. For a second my brain tried to make it nothing. Tried to make it a coincidence. Tried to make it the kind of mistake you laugh about later, like when someone leaves sunglasses or a sweater. Then the weight of it hit me. Not the physical weight, I hadn't touched it yet, but the weight of what it meant if it was what it looked like. I pulled over under a streetlight that didn't really light anything. I put the car in park. I turned on the dome light and leaned back, looking at it without reaching. The briefcase sat there like it belonged, like it had always been part of my car. My first thought was that the airport passenger had forgotten it. That he'd left it because he'd been distracted or because he'd expected to pick it up and hadn't. But I'd watched him take one out. I'd seen it. I'd seen the handle in his hand. I'd seen him walk away with it. He hadn't left it. Which meant someone else had. Someone after him. I tried to run the rides in my head. Tried to remember if anyone had carried something like that. The dealer hadn't. The drunk guys hadn't. The woman in the dress hadn't. Nobody had. Or nobody had where I could see. I got out, opened the rear door, and picked it up. It was heavier than a laptop. Heavier than paperwork. Heavy in the way dense things are heavy. Heavy like a tool. Like a weapon. Like money. The locks were small, metal, set into the frame. It wasn't just latched. It was secured. I set it on the seat and stared at it like it might speak. My dash cam recorded everything, including my face, including my hands. I knew that. I also knew that if I drove around with it, the dash cam would keep recording, and whatever happened next would have a record whether I wanted one or not. The app pinged with a request. I ignored it. The cancellation timer started. I let it tick. I didn't care about the points in that moment. I cared about what I had in my car. The platform has a lost item feature. You report it, you contact the passenger, you arrange a return. That works when it's a phone. When it's a jacket. When it's something that belongs to someone who will say thank you and tip you and go home. This wasn't that. If it was a mistake, it was a mistake with consequences. If it wasn't a mistake, it was a setup with consequences. Either way, there was no version where I was the hero. I did what the platform tells you to do first. I opened the app and looked at my last ride, the dealer. The last rider's name. The drop-off address. The option to contact him through the app. I hit it. It rang and then went to the platform's anonymized voicemail. I left a message that sounded calm because panic is a smell and people in Vegas can smell it from across a table. Hey, you left something in the back seat. Call me back through the app. That was it. No detail. No description. No briefcase. No important. I tried the ride before him. The bachelor party. Same process. Same ringing. Same nothing. I tried the one before that. The woman in the dress. It connected to an automated message that said the number was unavailable. By the time I got back to the airport passenger's ride, my hands were steady and my throat was tight. I hit contact. It rang once. Twice. Then someone picked up. Yeah, a man's voice said. No greeting. No name. I swallowed. This is your driver from earlier. A pause that felt like a door closing. I didn't request another ride. No, I said. I'm calling through the app. There's an item in the back seat. Another pause. What item? The question wasn't casual. It was controlled. It was the kind of question that expects the answer to be precise. I could have told him. I could have said there's a briefcase. But if I said that and he said he didn't have one, then I'd just confess that I had something I shouldn't have. I'm not sure it's yours, I said, which was true. But it seems important. Silence. Then, where are you? I pulled over, I said. Near, I looked around. Street signs. Not a place anyone cared about. Near Charleston and Maine. Another pause. Stay there. The line went dead. I sat in my car with the briefcase on the seat and felt the city shift around me without changing its face. It was still Vegas. Still lights. Still distant traffic. Still someone laughing somewhere. But now I was inside a different part of it, one that doesn't show up in postcards. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. 15. A message popped up through the app: return item to hotel security desk. Do not open. Do not delay. No name. No please. Not even a question of what it was. It wasn't the passenger. It was someone who had access to his account or to a device linked to it. Someone who could send instructions without using a voice. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. My mind ran through options like it was trying to find a branch where I didn't get hurt. Option 1, take it to the hotel security desk as instructed. That means driving straight into the resort, into the cameras, into the security checkpoint that's not a checkpoint but might as well be. It means walking into a room where everything is recorded and handing over an object I cannot identify on record without looking like I'm hiding something. Option 2, take it to a police station. That sounds clean until you remember this is Las Vegas and the police have their own relationship with the resorts. You walk in with a locked briefcase and say you found it, and suddenly you are in a room with questions you can't answer, and the resorts will still be involved because everything here gets routed back into the casino apparatus. The police might be sympathetic, or they might be annoyed, or they might decide the quickest solution is to keep you there until someone shows up with a claim. Option 3, report it through the platform, wait for a callback, follow procedures. The platform is not built for this. The platform is built to keep you driving. It will take hours. It will create a record that you held onto it. It will not protect you from the people who want it. Option 4, leave it somewhere. Anonymously. Dump it. That sounds like survival until you remember cameras exist everywhere. You don't just drop something in Las Vegas and walk away. You drop it and it gets seen. Option 5, open it. I didn't even let my hand move toward the locks. The moment you open it, you own what's inside, whether you meant to or not. The moment you open it, you change from a driver who found something to a driver who interfered. I put the car in drive. The hotel was 20 minutes away without traffic. With the strip, with the lights, with the lanes that make no sense unless you've driven them 1,000 times, it would be longer. I checked the app. My acceptance rate had taken hits. I had missed 3 requests. I could feel the invisible penalties accumulating. That mattered because in Las Vegas, your access is your leverage. Lose your access and you are a man with a car, not a man with a job. I headed toward the strip, toward the hotel the airport passenger had been dropped at. I watched every car behind me like it might be following. I watched every turnoff like it might be a trap. That's paranoia, sure, but paranoia is just pattern recognition with fear attached. As I got closer, the system pressure started to clamp down. The strip at night is a river of commitments. Every lane change is a negotiation. Every stoplight is a gamble. You can't just pull over and think. You can't just stop. You're either moving with the flow or you're an obstacle, and obstacles get punished here. I hit the hotel's rideshare entrance instead of the main valet because I didn't want the parade. The rideshare entrance had its own cameras, its own staff, its own rhythm. It was where people came in trying to be invisible and failed. I parked in a space marked 10-minute loading only and grabbed the briefcase. It pulled my arm down like it was anchored. I walked fast but not fast enough to look guilty. I kept my face neutral because cameras read guilt too. They don't see your thoughts, but they see your body. Inside, the air was cold and smelled like perfume and carpet cleaner. The casino floor pulsed with machines and music that didn't need anyone to listen. I cut past the slots, past the late-night players who were still there because they didn't know where else to be, and headed toward the security desk I'd seen before. Security desks in casinos are never where you'd put them if you wanted people to find them. They're tucked near service corridors, near back hallways, near signs that say guest services and mean everything and nothing. This one had 2 men in dark suits behind it, earpieces, posture like bouncers in a nicer world. A camera above them angled down to catch every face. I set the briefcase on the counter. One of the men looked at it. His eyes flicked to me, then to the briefcase, then to the camera above. He didn't touch it. "What is this?" he said. "A passenger left it in my car," I said. "I got a message to return it here." He held out his hand, palm up, not for the briefcase. "For my phone." "Let me see the message." I hesitated because my phone has my life on it, my banking, my platform access, my texts. But hesitating in front of security is the quickest way to become interesting. I unlocked it and showed him. He read the message without expression. Then he turned the phone so the camera above could see it too, as if the camera needed evidence. He handed it back. "Stay here," he said. He didn't say please. He didn't say thank you. He picked up a radio on the counter and spoke into it in code. I didn't catch it all, but I caught the words vehicle and item and guessed. Another man appeared from the side hallway. Taller, older, gray at the temples. He wore a suit too, but it fit like armor. His eyes were sharp. He approached the counter and looked at me like I'd been delivered to him. "You're the driver," he said. "Yes." He didn't ask my name. He didn't ask for my ID. Not yet. He glanced at the briefcase and then at the camera. "Where did you find it?" "In my back seat," I said. "After my last drop." He watched my face as I spoke, like he could see the lie hiding behind my teeth if there was one. His expression didn't change. "What time?" I looked at the app history. "Around 2:20. "Who was your last passenger?" "I don't know," I said, and that was true in the way the platform makes it true. I had a name, a screen name, not a person. The app shows a first name. He held out his hand again. "Show me." I showed him the ride history. He leaned in, reading. He took my phone this time without waiting for me to offer it. He scrolled with a thumb that didn't shake. He nodded once, then handed it back. "Did you open it?" "No." He looked at the locks. "Did you attempt to open it?" "No." He glanced at the camera again, then to the first security man. "Bag it." The first man reached under the counter and pulled out a clear evidence bag with a hotel logo on it. He slipped gloves on. He picked up the briefcase like it might bite. He slid it into the bag and sealed it with a strip that made a sound like tearing skin. The older man leaned closer to me. "You're going to come with me." "That's not," the words came out before I could stop them. I didn't want to go anywhere with hotel security. I wanted to drop the item and leave and go back to being invisible. His eyes hardened. "You have a car registered under your name that entered our property with an unverified item. We are going to document the return. It will take 5 minutes. If you refuse, it becomes longer." The system pressure clicked into place. In Vegas, refusal is a trigger. It doesn't keep you safe. It makes you a problem. "Okay," I said. He guided me through a side door marked staff only. The hallway beyond was narrower, lit in fluorescent white. The carpet stopped. The glamour stopped. Behind the scenes, every casino looks like a hospital and a warehouse had a child. Beige walls, utility doors, cameras in corners, signs telling employees where they are allowed to smoke. He led me into a small room with a metal table, 2 chairs, and a camera mounted in the upper corner. Another camera on the ceiling. No windows. A clipboard on the table. It smelled like disinfectant. "This is for documentation," he said. "Sit." I sat. He stayed standing. He slid a form toward me. "Write your full legal name, driver identification number, vehicle plate, time you discovered the item, and the circumstances." I stared at the form. The form was a trap and a shield at the same time. It was a record. Records are everything in Vegas. Records can save you and bury you. I filled it out carefully. Full legal name. Driver ID. Plate. Time. Circumstances, discovered after last drop, contacted through app, instructed to return, returned unopened. I wrote in plain language, no flourish. He watched my handwriting. When I finished, he took the form and read it. "What was your route after you discovered it?" "I pulled over," I said. "I tried to contact passengers. Then I came here." He nodded slightly, then held up a finger, as if telling me to wait. He stepped out of the room, leaving me alone with the cameras. That was my first taste of how Vegas turns time into pressure. Waiting in a room with cameras makes you feel like you're already guilty. It makes you want to talk, to explain, to justify. If you talk, you give them material. If you sit still, you look like you're hiding something. There's no right posture. That's the point. A minute later he came back with a different man. This one wore a polo with a hotel logo. He had a badge clipped to his belt and the posture of someone who thinks rules are personal. "This is operations," the older man said. "He will take down your information for access logs." The polo man sat across from me and pulled out a tablet. "Driver," he said, like it was my name. "We need your permission to pull your dashcam footage." "My dashcam footage is mine," I said. "It records my car." "It recorded our property," he said. "It recorded the guest. It recorded the item. We will need it to verify chain of custody." Chain of custody. That's a phrase you hear in court, not at a casino. But casinos run like courts. They run on evidence. "I'm not giving you my dashcam footage," I said, because giving them footage is giving them leverage. The older man's eyes narrowed. "If you refuse, we can involve Metro." He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a fact. He said it like the system would do what the system does. I'll provide it to police if requested, I said. Not to hotel operations. The polo man's mouth tightened. You're making this difficult. I'm protecting myself, I said. The older man held my gaze for a long second, then nodded once. Fine. We will request it through Metro if necessary. He slid a receipt across the table. Sign here acknowledging you returned an item unopened. I signed. The form was simple. Date, time, signature. It wasn't a confession. It was a timestamp. The older man stood. You may go. Relief hit me so fast it felt like weakness. I stood too quickly, chair scraping. The polo man looked at me like I'd just proved something. Wait, the older man said, holding up a hand. One more thing. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. Plain. No flashy logo. A name and a phone number. If anyone contacts you about this item, you call this number. Do not respond to anyone else. Understood. Understood, I said. He opened the door and I stepped back into the hallway. I expected to walk out and be free. I expected to return to the casino floor, to the noise, to the anonymity. Instead, the polo man followed me out and stopped me at the end of the hallway. Your car is in the loading zone, he said. You need to move it now. It was small, almost petty. But that's how Vegas works. Big things happen in rooms without windows, and then you get hit with a parking violation on the way out. I hurried back to the rideshare entrance and slid into my seat. I started the engine. The app had me offline. No requests. A message from the platform, unusual activity detected. Account temporarily paused. Please contact support. My stomach dropped. The platform's support is a maze. It's chatbots and canned responses and waiting. A temporary pause could be resolved in an hour, or it could be a death sentence if the right flag gets attached to your account. This was leverage. It was consequence. I called support immediately. The line put me in a queue. A recorded voice thanked me for being a valued partner. It told me my wait time was 30 to 40 minutes. I didn't have 30 minutes to sit in a loading zone with security watching. I pulled out into the flow and drove toward the airport because airport rides are where the money is, and because being in motion feels like control even when you don't have it. Support finally picked up. A woman with a calm voice and a script. Thank you for calling partner support, she said. How can I assist you? My account's paused, I said. I need to get back online. I returned a lost item to hotel security and now I'm paused. There was a pause as she typed. I see a report, she said. A guest reported an issue with a lost item. I didn't lose anything, I said. A passenger left an item. I returned it. I have documentation. Sir, she said, voice still calm, your account is under review. This process can take up to 72 hours. 72 hours. In Vegas, 72 hours is rent. It's groceries. It's gas. It's your ability to stay in the game. I can't be offline for 72 hours, I said. I understand, she said, in a tone that meant she didn't. You can submit documentation through the app. How? I said. She walked me through the steps. Upload photo of receipt, upload description, submit. I did it while driving, pulling into a parking lot to do it because even in panic I'm not dumb enough to do it on the freeway with a camera watching. When I hit submit, the app showed under review. That was it. No timeline. No assurance. I sat in my car and felt the city press in from all sides. The strip was visible in the distance, a bright line of towers. The airport was behind me, planes taking off like nothing mattered. My phone was a brick with a screen. I could have gone home. I could have slept. I could have waited. But waiting is the same as losing when your money depends on access. And I had a feeling, an ugly, practiced feeling, that the story wasn't done with me. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. Not the platform. Not a hotel. Just a local number. I answered without thinking. Hello. A man's voice, low. You returned it. It wasn't a question. Yes, I said, heart thudding. I returned it. Good, he said. Where are you now? I should have hung up. I knew that. The card the older security man gave me told me to call him if anyone contacted me. That was the rule. The shield. But the voice on the phone had something in it, authority, impatience, that made it hard to treat like a random scam. I'm not giving my location, I said. A short exhale, like a laugh without humor. You think you have a choice. Who is this? I said. Someone who knows you have a camera, he said. Someone who knows your account is paused. My blood went cold. You did that, I said. I didn't do anything, he said. Systems do what they do. You inserted yourself into a system. I returned a lost item, I said. It wasn't lost, he said. It moved. Then why leave it in my car, I said. Silence, then, meet me. No, I said. You want your account back, he said. You want the heat off. You want to keep driving. You meet me, you answer a few questions, you go back to your life. I already answered questions, I said. Not the ones that matter, he said. My hand tightened on the phone. I'm calling hotel security, I said, and my voice sounded more confident than I felt. I'm calling Metro. Do that, he said. Tell them you handled an item and now you're being contacted. See how long you sit in a room. He knew the pressure points. He knew the way the system punishes uncertainty. Where, he said. Fremont. 10 minutes. No, I said again. I'm done. You're not done, he said. You're in Las Vegas. Nobody's done until the cameras stop rolling. The line clicked and went dead. I stared at my phone. The number stayed on the screen like a stain. That was the commitment point arriving earlier than I wanted. The moment where you realize you're not just reacting anymore. You're making choices that bind you. I pulled out the business card the older security man gave me. I called the number. It rang twice, then picked up. Security, a voice said. This is the driver who returned the briefcase earlier, I said. Someone just called me asking where I am. They said they know my account is paused. A pause? What number called you? I gave it. Stay where you are, the voice said. Do not meet anyone. Metro has been notified. Metro, I said, surprised. Metro, he repeated. There is an active investigation. What investigation? I asked. We cannot discuss details, he said. But you should know, do not engage. The line went dead. I sat in my car and felt something like relief and dread at the same time. Relief because now there was an official thread, a record, a shield. Dread because active investigation is not a phrase you want attached to your name. My phone buzzed again. Another call. Different number. I didn't answer. The app buzzed with a notification. Please remain available for follow-up. A representative may contact you. A representative. The platform. The hotel. The police. Or someone else. I decided to get off the road. Not home. Home is a location. Home is something you don't want strangers to know in Las Vegas. I chose a place where people disappear into crowds, a mid-tier off-strip casino with a parking garage that smelled like oil and stale air. A place with cameras, yes, but cameras you can blend into if you move right. I parked on the 3rd level, away from the elevators. I sat with my seat back and waited. An hour passed. Then 2. At around 5, as the sky started turning that pale early morning gray that makes Vegas look like a town built out of concrete and regret, my phone buzzed with a notification from the platform. Account reactivated. No apology. No explanation. Just access restored. My shoulders sagged. I wanted to laugh, but it didn't feel funny. The platform had held my livelihood like a chip stack, and now it slid it back across the felt like nothing happened. That told me something important. The pause had been a lever, and now that lever had been released because someone decided it was no longer useful. I could have taken that as a sign to stop. To go home. To pretend it never happened. But the second you see the machine, you can't unsee it. And I didn't believe I was out. The next buzz came 10 minutes later. A text, unknown number. Wrong case. 2 words. No punctuation. Like a note slipped under a door. I stared at it until my eyes hurt. Wrong case meant what it said. The briefcase I returned wasn't the one they wanted. Or it wasn't the one with the contents that mattered. Or it wasn't supposed to be in my car at all. I thought back to the airport passenger, the way he reached for a briefcase and took it with him. If he took his and I found another, then the wrong could mean someone swapped them, or someone planted one, or someone miscounted. It could mean the airport passenger walked away with the wrong one and didn't know it. It could mean the briefcase in my car was a decoy. I deleted the text. Then I realized deletion doesn't matter. Screenshots exist. Phone records exist. In Vegas, everything exists somewhere. I went back online and started taking rides because action feels safer than thought. I stayed off the strip for the first couple hours, working locals, working early commuters, working the quiet edges of the city where people are just trying to get to work. But eventually the requests pulled me back toward the resorts because that's where the demand is. Around noon, I got a pickup at a resort on the Central Strip. The rider was a woman in a blazer, hair pulled back tight. She carried a tablet. She looked like she belonged behind a desk, not in a rideshare. She got in and immediately said, "Take me to McCarran." People still call it that sometimes. Old habits. The app said Harry Reid International. She said McCarran like she didn't care about the update. I merged into traffic. She tapped on her tablet, eyes moving fast. Halfway there she said, "You returned a briefcase last night." I almost swerved. "What?" I said, voice flat. She didn't look up. "You returned a briefcase to security at the South Strip property at 2:47 a.m. You signed documentation. Your platform account was paused for 2 hours and 14 minutes. I tightened my grip on the wheel. "Who are you?" "Not your problem," she said. "Your problem is that your dashcam exists." I said nothing. She finally looked up, eyes sharp. "Do you want to keep driving?" "I got my account back," I said. "For now," she said. "There's a second report. Another guest. Another item. The platform will pause you again if the right documentation hits the right pipeline." "What do you want?" I said. She smiled slightly, but it wasn't friendly. It was acknowledgement. "Good. You're not stupid." I hated how she said it like she'd been testing me. "What do you want?" I repeated. "I want the location you stopped when you discovered the case," she said. "Not the intersection. The exact spot. The parking lot. The camera coverage. How long you were there." "That's in my statement," I said. She shook her head. "You wrote pulled over near Charleston and Maine." "That's not a spot. That's an idea." "I don't remember the exact spot," I lied. She leaned back. "You have a dash cam." "I'm not giving you my footage," I said. She held up her tablet. "Then we will obtain it another way." The system pressure tightened. Surveillance. Records. Access. All the things that make Vegas run also make it impossible for a small person to hide. "What is this about?" I asked. She watched me for a long moment, then said, "There is a case with $75,000 missing." The number hit me like a punch. It matched the weight, the shape, the fear I'd tried not to name. "You don't know that," I said. "I know what the claim is," she said. "I know what the cameras show. I know what the guest says. I know what security logged. I know what Metro is interested in." I swallowed. I returned it unopened. "Maybe," she said. "But if that money is missing, the chain of custody matters, and you are a link." "Then talk to hotel security," I said. "We are," she said. "We are talking to everyone." The phrase everyone sounded bigger than it needed to. Like there were more players than I'd imagined. We pulled into the airport loop. The rideshare drop-off area was a controlled mess: cones, signs, staff waving, drivers crawling. Cameras on poles. Cameras on buildings. Everything recorded, everything timed. She said, "Stop here." I stopped. She opened the door, paused, and looked back at me. "If you get another call, you answer and you listen. You do not meet anyone. You do not open anything. You keep your dash cam footage intact. And you remember, in Las Vegas, the person who looks innocent is the easiest to sacrifice." Then she got out and walked toward the terminal without looking back. I sat there with my pulse loud in my ears. She hadn't given me a name. She hadn't shown a badge. She hadn't promised anything. She had only reminded me what I already knew: the system was moving, and I was inside it whether I wanted to be or not. That afternoon, the escalation began in earnest. I got a request for a pickup at a hotel on Fremont. The rider name looked normal. The pickup pin was in the rideshare zone. I pulled in. The zone was crowded, as always. People with bags, people with drinks, people arguing with their phones. I stopped at the pin. A man approached my car. Late 30s. Hoodie. Hands in pockets. He didn't match the profile picture in the app. He didn't look at the phone screen. He looked at me. "You the driver," he said. "Who are you?" I said, keeping my voice even. "What's the name on the ride?" He smiled like I'd said something funny. "Cancel the ride." "No," I said. He leaned closer to my window. "You got something we need." "I don't have anything," I said. He shrugged. "Then you got knowledge." "Same thing." Cars behind me honked. The zone staff waved at me to move. The system pressure was immediate: "You cannot stop here. You cannot have a standoff in the rideshare lane. The cameras see it. The staff see it. The other drivers see it. Get in or move," I said. He opened the rear door without waiting and slid in. My stomach tightened. That was the point where things stopped being theoretical. A stranger in your car who is not a passenger is not a problem you can solve with the app. "Drive," he said. "Where?" I said. "Anywhere," he said. "Just not here." I pulled out because the staff were already stepping toward me, faces tight. I merged into Fremont traffic, neon overhead, pedestrians spilling into the street like they owned it. "Who are you?" I said again, more quietly. He leaned forward so I could smell cigarettes on him. "You returned the wrong case," he said, like he was correcting a minor error. "I returned what was in my car," I said. He chuckled. "That's what you think. What do you want?" I said. He said, "The case that matters isn't in hotel security. It's in somebody's hands. We need to know whose." "I don't know," I said. He tapped the dash cam with a finger. "Your camera knows. Your camera saw who got in your car. Your camera saw what they carried." "My camera records passengers," I said. "Not everything." "Your camera records angles," he said. "Enough." I pictured my dash cam footage. The interior cam angled down, catching the back seat, catching faces if they leaned forward. The briefcase had been on the floor behind my passenger seat. Would the camera have caught it? Would it have caught someone carrying it? Would it have caught someone switching something? I didn't know. "We can't get your footage from you," he said. "You're too scared. So we're going to help you." "Help?" "In Vegas, help always has an invoice." "Get out of my car," I said. He laughed softly. "No." I felt sweat on my palms. "If you don't get out, I'm driving to Metro." He leaned back. "Do that. Then tell them a stranger forced his way into your car. Tell them you don't know his name. Tell them you didn't call 911 the moment it happened. Tell them you've been getting calls about a missing $75,000. He'd said the number too. He wasn't guessing. The number was circulating. "What's your name?" I asked, because names are anchors. He said, "Doesn't matter." We drove off Fremont and onto side streets, away from the crowds. The city shifted from spectacle to utility, low buildings, parking lots, chain restaurants, service entrances. "Pull into that lot," he said, pointing at a grocery store parking lot. I pulled in, parked under a light pole. The sun was still up, but the light felt harsh. He said, "Turn off the engine." I did. He said, "Now listen. Somebody swapped cases. One has cash. One has paper. The one you returned? Paper. Agreements. Numbers. Things people don't want on camera." "I didn't open it," I said. "Doesn't matter," he said. "Security opened it. They logged what was inside. Metro got involved because paper means leverage. Cash is just cash. Paper is power." My stomach churned. "So why contact me?" "Because you're the clean link," he said. "A driver. A nobody. You don't belong to anyone. That means everyone thinks they can use you." He looked at me through the rearview mirror. His eyes were flat, calculating. "We need to know where the cash went," he said. "We think it went into your car and out again before you noticed." "I would have noticed," I said. He shrugged. "Would you? After a long night? After 10 rides? After people throwing themselves into your back seat?" I thought of the bachelor party, the noise, the shoving. I thought of how easy it would be for someone to slide something under the seat, to lift something out, to trade. The interior cam might catch it, or it might not. "What do you want from me?" I said. He said, "Your footage." "No," I said. He sighed like I was stubborn. "Then we do it another way." He reached into his hoodie and pulled out a small device, like a thumb drive with a cable. "Plug this into your dash cam," he said. "No," I said, voice sharper. He leaned forward again. "You plug it in, it copies last night. You hand it back. You drive away. Your account stays on. Nobody bothers you." "And if I don't?" I said. He held up his phone and showed me a photo. "My car. My plate. Taken from behind. Recent. We already know where you park," he said. "We already know what you drive. You think you can just go home and disappear? This city doesn't let you disappear." My throat went dry. "Who are you working for?" I said. He smiled without humor. "The side that doesn't call Metro first." I stared at the device in his hand. I pictured plugging it into my dash cam and letting it copy footage. I pictured what it would mean. I would be giving evidence to someone who isn't official. I would be handing them leverage. I would be committing myself to their side. But refusing meant escalating again. Refusing meant inviting a different kind of pressure. This was the point where my options narrowed to bad and worse. Commitment point, the phase where you do something that changes what follows. I said, "I'm not giving you my footage." His face tightened. He didn't look surprised. He looked like he'd expected resistance. "Okay," he said. "Then we try the other method." He opened his door and stepped out. He stood beside my car, hands in pockets. He looked like a man waiting for someone, not a man who'd just threatened me. "What other method?" I said. He nodded toward the grocery store entrance. We wait. I followed his gaze. A woman walked out pushing a cart. Behind her, two men in polo shirts with security badges were moving fast. Hotel security. Not Metro. Different uniforms. Different authority. But authority all the same. The men approached my car, eyes scanning, hands near their belts. The hoodie man smiled. I realized what he'd done. He'd used the system against me. He'd created a scene that forced official eyes onto me. One of the security men stopped at my window. "Driver," he said. "Step out of the vehicle." "What is this?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Step out," he repeated. I looked at the hoodie man. He stepped back, letting them do their work. I opened my door and stepped out slowly, hands visible. The security men moved like they'd practiced this. One positioned himself near my rear door. The other stayed at my window. "We have a report of unauthorized contact regarding an item," the first man said. "We need to clarify." "You're not Metro," I said. "We will involve Metro if you do not cooperate," he said. There it was again. Metro as the threat and the shield. "What do you want?" I said. "Your dash cam footage," he said. I laughed once, short and ugly. "You and everyone else." The first man's eyes narrowed. "This is not a joke. It's not my footage to give you," I said. "It's my property. I'll give it to Metro with a proper request." The second man stepped closer. "You are in possession of evidence connected to a criminal investigation." "I'm in possession of a camera," I said. "I'm not in possession of anything else." He held up a paper. "A printout. My statement from last night. My signature. You inserted yourself into this when you brought the case to us. You do not get to dictate terms now." The hoodie man watched from a few feet away, face blank. He looked satisfied. This was escalation. Systems colliding, hotel security, unknown callers, platform access, the camera in my car, all converging on one small person. "Call Metro," I said, because I wanted the system I understood. I wanted one set of rules, not three. The first security man held my gaze. "Metro is already en route." My stomach sank. We waited in the parking lot under a light pole while shoppers pushed carts past like nothing unusual was happening. People see a lot in Las Vegas. They don't intervene. They don't ask. They keep moving. A Metro cruiser pulled in 10 minutes later. Two officers stepped out. One young, one older. They approached with the calm of men used to being called to handle other people's chaos. The older officer looked at the security men. "What's the issue?" The first security man said, "Driver is withholding dash cam footage relevant to an item investigation." The officer looked at me. "You got footage?" "I have a dash cam," I said. "It records my car. I've offered to provide it with a proper request. I'm not giving it to hotel security." The officer nodded slightly. "Fair." The security man's jaw tightened. "We need it now." The officer held up a hand. "That's not how it works." He turned to me. "We can request it. You can consent. Or we can seize it if we have probable cause. But I'm not letting private security bully you in a parking lot." My relief was immediate, but it was laced with fear because when Metro gets involved, you're no longer in a private dispute. You're in the state's hands. The younger officer asked, "What item?" The older officer said, "Briefcase." The younger officer's eyebrows lifted. "The 75? The number again." Like a refrain the city kept repeating. $75,000. Cash. Missing. I said. I returned a briefcase to a strip hotel. I never opened it. The older officer nodded. "We know. You signed. We have that." The hoodie man shifted his weight, almost imperceptible. He didn't want Metro to own the moment. He wanted to stay in control. The older officer looked at him. "Who are you?" The hoodie man smiled. "Just a bystander." "Step over here," the officer said. The hoodie man didn't move. I didn't do anything. The officer's voice sharpened. "Now." The hoodie man raised his hand slightly, like he was complying, and stepped toward the officers. As he did, I saw the flash of movement, his hand going into his hoodie pocket, not slowly, not like someone reaching for a wallet. Fast. The older officer reacted instantly, grabbing his wrist, twisting. The hoodie man grunted, stumbled. Something clattered to the ground, the small device, the cable. The younger officer kicked it away and drew his weapon without pointing it at anyone yet. The older officer shoved the hoodie man against my car, hands on him, checking for weapons. The hoodie man cursed, voice sharp now, no longer calm. The older officer pulled his hands behind him and cuffed him. "Bystander," he said, flat. The security men looked uncomfortable. They hadn't expected Metro to act like Metro. They'd expected them to be another arm of the casino system. The older officer turned to me. "You see this guy in your car?" "Yes," I said, voice tight. "He forced his way in." The officer nodded. "We'll take statements." He looked at my dash cam. "And we're taking that." I opened my mouth to protest, but I saw the logic. The dash cam recorded the confrontation. It recorded him entering. It recorded everything that mattered. "If you take it," I said, "I can't drive." The officer's expression softened just enough to acknowledge the problem. "We'll document and return it as soon as possible. But this is bigger than your shift. Bigger than my shift. In Vegas, everything is bigger than your shift until it's your rent." They took the hoodie man to the cruiser. They took the device as evidence. They took my dash cam unit from the windshield mount, unplugging it carefully. The older officer handed me a receipt. Evidence tag number. A phone number for the case. "You're going to be contacted," he said. "Do not talk to anyone else about this. If anyone calls you, you call us." I nodded. The security men murmured something about needing footage too. The officer shut them down with a look. "You'll get what you're authorized to get through proper channels." Then Metro drove away with the hoodie man and my dash cam, leaving me standing in a parking lot with my car suddenly quiet and blind. That was the point of no return. Once the police take evidence from your vehicle, you are no longer a driver for the platform in the simple way. You are a witness. A node. A point on a map. I got back in my car and stared at the empty windshield where the dash cam had been. The platform app pinged with a request. I accepted out of reflex. Then a message appeared, "Device required for service. Please confirm dash cam operational." The platform had its own rules, its own requirements, its own surveillance. Without the dash cam, I was in violation of policy. My account went offline again. Immediate. Automated. I laughed, bitter. The system didn't care that Metro had my camera. The system cared that the box was missing. I drove home anyway, because there was nothing else to do. I drove through the city with my car suddenly feeling exposed, like a man walking without clothes in a place full of mirrors. At home I sat at my kitchen table with the evidence receipt and the platform's suspension notice on my phone. I called the case number. It rang, then went to voicemail. I left a message. "This is the driver. Metro took my dash cam and my platform suspended me. I need the camera back or a letter." No call back. Hours passed. Night fell. The city outside my window lit up again, and I wasn't part of it. That felt like punishment. I didn't realize how much my identity had fused with motion until motion was removed. Around 10, a knock came at my door. I froze. Nobody knocks at 10 unless they're lost or they're here for something. I approached the door quietly and looked through the peephole. A man in a suit. Not a uniform. Not a neighbor. He held up a badge near the peephole like he knew I was watching. "Metro," he said through the door. I opened it cautiously. He stood in my doorway with the posture of someone who expects compliance. He was mid-40s, clean-shaven, eyes tired. His badge was real. His partner stood behind him in the hall, hand near his belt. "Can we come in?" he asked. I stepped aside because refusing police at your door is another commitment point you don't want. They entered. The suited officer looked around my small living room like he was mapping exits. "You're the driver," he said. "Yes. We need to clarify some details," he said. "This is time sensitive." Time sensitive. Another system pressure. Another clock. He sat without asking, pulling out a notebook. "You returned a briefcase to hotel security." "Yes. After you found it, you contacted multiple riders," he said. "One of them is connected to a larger case." "I called through the app," I said. "I didn't know who." He nodded. "You spoke to a man. He instructed you to return the item." "Yes. Then your platform account was paused and then reactivated," he said. "Yes. Then you received a text that said wrong case," he said. My stomach clenched. "How do you know that?" He stared at me. "Because phone records exist." Of course they did. The system sees everything. "Who sent it?" I asked. He shook his head. "We're working on it. Here's what you need to understand. The briefcase you returned contained documents linked to a credit scheme at multiple properties. It was not supposed to surface." I felt my mouth go dry. "So the cash is separate?" He nodded. $75,000 in cash is missing from a different case. We believe there was an exchange. "So why me?" I said, frustration rising. "I'm just a driver." "Because your car is the only uncontrolled space in the chain," he said. "The airport has cameras. The hotel has cameras. The casino floors have cameras. Your car was the gap, and we need to close it. His partner spoke for the first time. We pulled your dash cam footage. You have it, I said, relief flooding. The suited officer held up a hand. We have the footage. Not the camera. The camera is still in evidence. But we can provide you a letter for the platform stating it's held by Metro. That might help. Might, I said, bitter. He ignored the tone. We need you to watch something. He pulled out a tablet and played a clip. The interior dash cam footage showed the back seat. It showed the airport passenger getting in, quiet, contained. It showed him reaching down behind my passenger's seat and pulling up a briefcase. It showed him stepping out with it, just like I remembered. Then the clip jumped to later. Another passenger. The bachelor party. Chaos in the back seat. Bodies shifting. Hands waving. At one point, one of them leaned forward, arm reaching down behind the passenger's seat, hand disappearing out of frame. The clip was grainy in motion, but the movement was there. The suited officer paused the video. This, he said, pointing. We believe this is when the exchange occurred. Exchange. A hand reaching. A briefcase moved. I stared at the paused frame, heart pounding. I didn't see that. Of course you didn't, he said. You were driving. That's why it worked. He resumed the video. Later, the bachelor party got out. Another passenger got in. A normal ride. No chaos. Then later, at the drop-off, the passenger left, and the floor behind my passenger's seat was visible. The briefcase sat there, barely noticeable under shadow. The suited officer paused again. It appears the briefcase was in your car for at least 3 rides before you noticed. I swallowed hard. Did you see any of your passengers handle it? He asked. No, I said. No one. He nodded. We have a suspect for the bachelor party. We're working on it. His partner leaned closer. Here's the problem. The suspect claims he never touched a briefcase. He claims you planted it. He claims you're part of it. My breath caught. That's insane. In Vegas, the suited officer said, people say anything to move blame. Evidence matters. He tapped the tablet. Your footage shows a hand. It does not show the case leaving. It does not show where the cash went. That means we still have a hole. He looked at me with tired eyes. And you're still a witness in the middle. So what do? I asked, voice low. You keep your phone on, he said. If anyone contacts you, you answer and you tell us immediately. We are going to use you as a listening point. I felt my anger flare. Use me? He didn't deny it. You want your account back. You want to keep driving. You help us, we help you. That was the language of Vegas. Transaction. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a letter on Metro letterhead. This states your dash cam is held as evidence and your inability to comply with the platform's dash cam requirement is due to law enforcement seizure. Submit it. I took it like it was a lifeline. It felt thin. The suited officer stood. One more thing. He looked at me hard. If someone offers you money for your footage or your silence, you refuse. If you take money, you become part of it. Then we can't help you. I nodded, throat tight. They left. I sat on my couch with the letter and felt the weight of the city settle on me. I'd been drafted into an investigation without signing up. I'd been turned into a listening point, a piece of bait. The next day I submitted the letter to the platform. The platform responded with an automated message. Thank you. Your account will be reviewed. Reviewed again. Always reviewed. By afternoon, I was back online. The platform restored access, conditional, with a note that dash cam compliance must be restored within 72 hours. 72 hours again. Another clock. Metro still had my camera. Another clock. I went back to work because that's what you do when the machine lets you. The city moved around me like it was pretending nothing had happened. Tourists took pictures. Couples held hands. People lost money at tables and smiled about it. Drivers like me circled, invisible. But I wasn't invisible anymore. Not to whoever cared about the case. Not to Metro. Not to hotel security. Not to the platform. Late that night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered because Metro told me to. A man's voice, controlled. You still driving? Yes, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Good, he said. You owe. I don't owe anyone, I said. Silence, then a soft laugh. You brought a case into a casino. You triggered cameras. You triggered Metro. You made the wrong people nervous. That's a debt. I returned what was in my car, I said. You returned paper, he said. Cash is still missing. I don't have it, I said. I know, he said. If you had it, you'd be dead. My throat went tight. Who is this? Someone who can fix your problem, he said. Or make it worse. He gave me an address. You're going to drive to this location. You're going to park. You're going to wait. You're going to receive an item. Then you're going to drop it at a valet stand downtown. You do that, and the heat on you disappears. The words made my stomach flip. It sounded like the exact thing I didn't want, a delivery. A handoff. Becoming a courier. Becoming a part of someone else's operation. No, I said. He didn't raise his voice. Yes. I'm not doing that, I said, firmer. He said, then your platform access ends. Then your lease gets a call. Then your car gets tagged. Then you spend time in a room explaining why your phone has calls from people you can't name. He knew the pressure points again. He knew how small people are squeezed. I thought of Metro's warning. If someone offers money or asks for silence, refuse. If you take money, you become part of it. I said, I'm on with Metro. Another pause. No, you're not. The line went dead. I called Metro immediately, the suited officer's number. It rang. He answered. Someone just called me, I said, breath fast. They're trying to use me to move something. He was silent for a beat. Did you agree? No. Good, he said. Where did they tell you to go? I told him the address. He said, do not go. I'm not, I said. He exhaled. We're close. They're getting nervous. That means we're close. Close. Another word with weight. Keep driving, he said. Stay in public. Stay on camera. We'll handle the rest. I hung up and kept driving, heart racing. The next hour felt like walking through a crowded room with a target on my back. Every car behind me felt suspicious. Every passenger felt like a potential trap. Every ping on my phone felt like a hook. I took rides anyway because stopping felt like letting fear win. I picked up a man at a casino garage. He smelled like cologne and stale smoke. He sat quiet. I dropped him at another property. Nothing happened. I picked up 2 women from a bar off-strip. They argued quietly the whole ride about someone who wasn't answering. I dropped them at an apartment complex. Nothing happened. Then I got a request at the South Strip property again. The same place. The one where I'd returned the briefcase. My first instinct was to cancel. But canceling too many rides flags you. The platform punishes you for refusing. The system pressure doesn't let you choose comfort. I accepted. The pickup pin was at the employee entrance, not the guest entrance. That was unusual. Rideshare pickups are usually controlled through guest zones. Employee entrances are for deliveries and staff. I drove around to the back, past loading docks and dumpsters and security gates. The glamorous towers loomed above, but back here it looked like any industrial site: concrete, signage, cameras. A man stood by the curb, wearing a casino uniform jacket. He held no phone. No luggage. Just stood there like he'd been waiting. I stopped. He opened the rear door and got in without asking my name. Drive, he said. Where? I asked. He said an address. Not the one from the threatening caller. A different address, near the airport. I started driving, pulse pounding. Who are you? I said. He didn't answer immediately. He stared out the window like he was counting exits. You returned a case, he said finally. Yes, I said. He said, you did it wrong. I returned it to security, I said. You returned it to the wrong security, he said. There are layers. Layers. Of course there are. Casinos are built on layers: hosts, pit, surveillance, compliance, executive. Each layer sees different things and controls different levers. What do you want? I asked. He said, to correct the mistake. I didn't like the way he spoke. Too calm. Too rehearsed. I'm not doing anything, I said. I already talked to Metro. At the word Metro, he turned his head slightly. I saw his eyes in the rearview mirror. They weren't afraid. They were annoyed. Metro is slow, he said. Metro is outside. This is inside. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small envelope. He held it up so I could see, then put it back. Stop at the address, he said. You drop this in a locker. You leave. Your name disappears. No, I said, voice tight. He leaned forward. You want to keep driving. You want your camera back. You want your life back. You stop. I felt trapped in my own car again. But this time it was different. This man wasn't a random hoodie. He wore a casino jacket. He had access to the property. He had a tone that said he belonged to a system more organized than a street crew. This was the point of no return pressure, a direct demand to do an act. Not a conversation. An act. I said, if I stop, I'm calling Metro. He smiled slightly. You already did. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from an unknown number, do it. I swallowed hard. The city outside my windows rolled by, indifferent. Planes arced overhead toward the airport, indifferent. I made a decision that wasn't brave. It was practical. I drove toward the airport like he said, but I didn't go to the address. I headed toward a well-lit gas station on a main road near the terminal where cameras were obvious and people were constant. He noticed. Wrong turn. I need gas, I said, forcing calm. You don't need gas, he said. I'm stopping, I said. He leaned forward, voice low. Don't. I pulled into the gas station anyway, right under a floodlight, right in front of the store entrance where a camera sat above the door. I put the car in park and hit my hazard lights. I turned my head slightly so my dash cam, except I didn't have it. Right. No dash cam. That made this worse. But the gas station had cameras. People had phones. The world had eyes. I said, get out. He didn't move. Drive. I opened my door and stepped out, leaving the door open. That's a small trick drivers learn, leaving the door open draws attention. It looks like trouble. I walked toward the store entrance and raised my voice. Hey! A clerk looked up from behind the counter. A man by the coffee machine turned his head. A woman filling her tank glanced over. The casino jacket man shifted, calculating. He didn't want a scene. Scenes create records. He opened the rear door and got out. He walked away from my car like he'd never been inside it, like he was just another person on the sidewalk. He didn't run. He didn't look back. I stood there shaking, pretending to check my phone. I called Metro again. The suited officer answered. You okay? No, I said. They put someone in my car. Casino jacket. Tried to get me to deliver an envelope. Where are you? He asked. I told him. Stay, he said. We're coming. 10 minutes later, a cruiser rolled in. Officers approached. I gave a statement, hands shaking, voice trying to stay steady. They asked if I had the envelope. I said no. They asked if I recognized the man. I said no, just the jacket. They asked to see the text. I showed them. The officer nodded. They're pushing because we're closing. Closing. The word again. They took my phone number and told me to keep it on. They told me to go home, to stay off the road. I nodded, but going home felt like surrender. Still, the platform would not protect me. The casinos would not protect me. Only Metro could, and Metro's protection was a thin line in a city built to swallow lines. The next morning, Metro called. We arrested someone, the suited officer said. Not your guy. But a piece. We recovered the cash. My breath caught. The 75. Yes, he said. In a safe deposit box downtown. Under a name connected to the bachelor party. Relief hit me so hard my knees went weak. You're done, he said. Mostly. Mostly, I repeated. He said, hotel security will stop contacting you. The platform will get your camera released today. My voice cracked. Thank you. He didn't respond to gratitude. He lived in a world where gratitude doesn't change outcomes. Here's what happened, he said, tone shifting to explanation. The briefcase you returned had paper tied to a credit scam. The cash was the payoff. Someone used your car to move the cash case out during the bachelor party chaos and left the paper case behind by accident. That paper case put pressure on people who don't like pressure. They tried to retrieve or redirect it. They tried to use you. You refused. That helped. I swallowed. So the airport guy. He said, airport guy wasn't the target. He was a carrier. He walked away with his own case. Your case came later. I nodded, though he couldn't see it. So my mistake was returning it to security. He said, no. Your mistake was thinking there was a correct choice. In Vegas, every choice is leveraged. You just picked the one that left a record. A record. The shield and the trap. That afternoon, I got a call to pick up my dash cam from evidence. A Metro building downtown, fluorescent hallways, metal detectors. I signed for it, hands steady now. The device felt like my own property again, like my own eye. On the way out, I passed people in chairs waiting for their own decisions to be processed. A woman holding a folder, eyes red. A man with tattoos staring at the floor. A kid too young to look calm. The system chews people quietly in rooms like that. I reinstalled the dash cam in my car in the parking lot. I tested it. The red light blinked. Recording. Watching. The platform restored my full access within an hour. No message, no apology. Just the green online button back where it belonged. I went back to work that night. The strip looked the same. Fremont looked the same. The airport queue looked the same. The system didn't change because a $75,000 case moved through it. It had moved 1,000 cases before that and would move 1,000 after. But I had changed, and that's what matters if anything does. I stopped taking rides from employee entrances. I canceled anything that looked wrong even if it hurt my acceptance rate. I installed a second camera angled lower, covering the rear floorboard behind my passenger's seat because now I knew where the blind spot was. I stopped leaving my car unattended in zones. I stopped assuming passengers were who the app said they were. I stopped trusting that returning a lost item was a simple act. A week later, I got a platform message offering me a safety training module. It was automatic, triggered by an incident. It asked me to watch videos about conflict de-escalation. It asked me to rate my experience. I closed it without responding. Some lessons don't fit into modules. The last time I thought about the briefcase was on a quiet late shift near the airport. I was in the staging lot again, engine off, watching the dispatch timer. The rows of cars were the same. Men staring at phones like verdicts. Cigarette smoke. Quiet frustration. A car 2 spaces down had its door open, and a driver was digging through his back seat, pulling out a jacket, a phone charger, a crumpled receipt. He looked annoyed, not afraid. He was searching for something lost and expecting to find it and move on. I watched him and felt a cold calm settle in. In Las Vegas, losing an item is never just losing an item. It's losing control of a piece of the system, and the system notices. Dispatch hit. Terminal 1. I started my engine and rolled out with the line. I kept my eyes on the mirrors, my camera lights blinking, my hands steady. I drove like a man who understood that in this city, the difference between a normal night and a life-altering night can be the shape of an object on a floorboard and the choice you make about where to take it. I didn't feel wiser. I didn't feel brave. I felt changed in the only way that matters here. I felt harder to use.
Before you cash your chips, like and subscribe for more stories.